after Osho, a foreigner to this country, used his cult to bus in thousands of homeless people to vote in his favor during a local election, the Federal Election Commission ruled that it did not violate federal election laws. Voter fraud is as old as voting itself, and voting machines have been designed to make fraud easier.
After witnessing election irregularities associated with the 2020 U.S. presidential election, we decided to direct time and resources to Cartel del Sol links to U.S. and global election fraud. It is indisputable. Smartmatic Election Systems was created at the direction of now deceased Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez, and its source code, the basis of its operating system, developed jointly by Venezuela's Consejo Nacional Electoral and Smartmatic, was designed to allow election results to be altered without the knowledge of voters and the public.
Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold posted a spreadsheet that listed the password of the state's voting systems. And after she was caught, she said it's not a security threat.
To be very clear, we do not see this as a full security threat to the state. This is not a security threat.
This is not the first time that your office has made mistakes that have damaged voters' confidence in our elections. In 2022, your office sent out mailers to 30,000 non-citizens inviting them to register to vote. They, of course, are not eligible to register to vote. That same year, your office used Colorado's ballot tracking system to send messages to specific Coloradans encouraging them to vote when, in fact, they had already voted, causing confusion that had to be cleaned up by the county clerks. And now this leak of the voting system passwords. Given your office's repeated errors that have damaged confidence in our elections, which you say is paramount, will you resign?
Absolutely not, Kyle.
And now we are seeing videos of voting machine glitches. At this year's DEF CON conference in August, hackers found security gaps in voting equipment, but it hasn't been fixed. But voting machine fraud is old news. The new election fraud tool is non-citizen voters. Catholic Charities have not only been managing the illegal border crossings, they have been registering them to vote. Groups of non-citizens have been seen early voting with the help of NGO handlers. The Texas elections chief told poll workers to give ballots to people who show non-citizen IDs. And while the Supreme Court decided to allow Virginia to remove non-citizens from voter rolls, the poll workers are being instructed to submit a special form for them to vote, which will tie results up for another week after Election Day.
Signed up to work this November 5th election poll here in the county that I live in Iowa. I wanted to see firsthand for myself if illegal immigrants are actually being allowed to vote. This is what we've been instructed. Even if they say that they're a U.S. citizen, and I still question it, any of us question it, they still are allowed to vote. They will be given this. This is a provisional ballot. Basically what that means is you still get to vote. The voting stops at 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, however many of these provisional ballots that we have, those are accumulated, and then they are all shoved in an envelope together, sealed, and then they go somewhere else. They have from November 5th through November 12th to bring information to verify that they're actually a U.S. citizen. Let me repeat that. They have until 12 p.m. on November 12th to present the proper identification to prove that they're a U.S. citizen.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
All right, hello and welcome. It's Doug Diamond here. You have reached another Diamond Report Live. This is the week. This is the week of the big election, isn't it? Well, let's see. It is 10:05 p.m. on November 3rd. So just a few hours until Election Day. We will see what actually transpires. I think they're going to delay, and stretch this thing out as long as possible. You can see some of the details in that video that we just watched, that in fact the provisional ballots, at least in one state, are being stretched out to the 12th, I think she said, the 12th at 12. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? They're going to be counting ballots until they have enough to win for whoever they want to get in there, and it's not Donald Trump. I'll just give you one little clue there. Yeah, so I wanted to look at a few things, just right up front in this broadcast tonight. And thank you all for joining me. I see the chat room has a number of people in it, and we've got the live stream going on Rumble as well. So welcome, everyone. This is your host, Doug Diamond, and we're going to do the Diamond Report Live. It's pretty much going to be a normal show tonight, being Sunday night, the Sunday night broadcast. The other thing that we're going to do is maybe throw you for a little bit of a loop. We're going to have a broadcast on election night as well. So if you want to join me on election night, which is Tuesday, remember the 5th of November, that is when Election Day is in the United States. If you want to join me, we will be broadcasting at 5 p.m. on the 5th. So it's easy to remember, 5 p.m. on the 5th. That, of course, is Central Time. That's where I am in the Central Time Zone. So join me then, and we will go through some of the election things, and I'll be on camera. We're also going to be simulcasting from a couple of other really good providers, I think. So we'll see how it goes. And, of course, you're welcome to come and go on that broadcast. We'll probably go for several hours, I'm guessing. I don't really know. So we'll see, unless YouTube flags my broadcast and shuts me down, or who knows what could happen. Actually, anything is possible. So anyway, what I wanted to look at tonight was we needed to talk very, very seriously about an issue that we have. And that, of course, is confidence in the election. We all know this. This goes back quite a ways, but specifically to 2020, when they inserted a well-known person you might have heard of named Joseph R. Biden, and he became the president. Well, it turns out that most people don't really have too much confidence in our election process in the United States, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I just became aware of some information tonight I wanted to share with you guys tuning into the broadcast. This is from a well-known person named Patrick Byrne, who's someone that I follow on Twitter. He's put this information out. I just found out about it today. As far as I know, it's come out pretty recently. He was saying, and I would definitely back him up as far as the technical side of things go. Many of you guys know I'm heavily into computers and things like that. Not really programming, but I know a lot about computers and building things like websites and so forth. So what he was saying was that at the national level, not really at the individual precinct level, not really even at the state level, but at the national level, something that could happen that we may be looking at here is, and this is something that's well known to the people on the right, the people that are trying to battle this computer fraud, which we are definitely going to be all part of as far as witnessing goes this year. So it's a very similar thing that happened in 2020. So here's what he said. This is from Patrick Byrne. He was saying that at the national level, the election servers, there will be some sort of a glitch or something, and they will have to employ a patch. You guys know all about patches. You know about upgrades and updating things. Whenever you update things on your computer or your phone or whatever, it never works the same. It's never as good, is it? Well, there's going to be some sort of computer glitches at the server level and the national election level, and that they will need to employ some sort of patch. The patch comes from a server in Serbia, and the server in Serbia who provides the patch is oftentimes run by Chinese officials and perhaps others from other countries. May not only be Serbians, but he specifically named Serbia in this. And on this, using this patch, it creates a backdoor into the election servers that they can then open up a virtual machine in. Now, a virtual machine is a computer within a computer. It's a software-based computer that runs on the election servers. They can go in there and alter the hard drive and the results of the election and make it do anything they want. They can make it say anything they want. They can literally make it stand on its head if they want to. And then what they do is, when they're done with this virtual machine created through the back door using a patch, right, to ostensibly fix this glitch, they then collapse the virtual machine and make it basically just dissolve and go away. And then they close the VPN connection, and it is untraceable. You cannot really find that information again. They're going to do this at the nationwide level. This is according to Patrick Byrne. So yeah, I'm shocked. Yeah, I'm sure you are. I've seen some comments here in chat. Yes, I know you're shocked. But yes, this is what's planned. This is probably what's going to happen. So therefore, they can manipulate the election any way they want. Yes, it's the Chinese. It's working hand in hand with the Democrat Party and so forth. We all know this. But I'm just giving you some technical background that you can then, let other people know about. This is kind of how they do it. This is one way they can do it. Now, it can be overwhelmed to some degree when you have a huge voter turnout. So that's what they're going for, is a massive turnout. And just to kind of explain things a little further, the show that I had last week that we did was entitled "That Trump Can't Win." They won't let Trump win, and I stand by that. But what I mean is, even though it will look like he won't win, he will win from the standpoint of it being a landslide. I'm positive, and I think many people out there are as well. Just from the voter turnout, it probably will be a Trump landslide, but it won't matter because it's going to be wiped away in this whole computer glitch thing that we're talking about here, right? So, yes, he will win, but no, he won't be allowed to take office. And I don't think that they'll even announce that he is the winner. This is just my opinion. I know, we can differ on that. And I had some comments on some of my videos that said that they respectfully disagree with what I said, that Trump will be the winner. I don't think so. I think they've tried too hard to kill him and put him in prison and lawfare him into oblivion and everything else that they've done. So I don't think there's any way possible they could ever announce that he's going to be the winner. And even if they do, the Democrats have already said, no, we're not going to certify the election. So, and they're building higher fences and stuff in Washington, D.C., getting ready for riots. So they know what they're doing, and it's fully something that the Democrats and the people on the left are behind, the Communist Party, it's people that are in charge of the Democrats. And, of course, many of the Republicans are just as bad. They're going along with them, hand in hand, skipping down the road, as it were. So anyway, I wanted to let you guys know about that. So I figured we should probably talk about a few things here. And we brought it up. We talked about the election, and this is something that I have really been thinking about. And I wanted to put it on the screen here, kind of front and center, up front in the broadcast. And the thing we need to really focus on is we need to end electile dysfunction. Electile dysfunction. So my question for you is, and this is not just for guys, this is for girls too. Are you suffering from, number one, difficulty maintaining an election? So if you think about it, if you have difficulty maintaining an election, that is where all the problems start. So beyond that, if your election lasts for longer than 4 days, you have a real problem. So just keep that in mind. If your election lasts for longer than 4 days, you may have an issue. And then, of course, there's the sudden loss of interest in voting. So if you have a sudden loss of interest in voting, again, you are suffering from electile dysfunction. Okay? And this one, I can't really say much about this other than you could imagine it could be about as bad as it gets. This is like the worst step of all. Suffering from premature inauguration. Yes. We did that in 2020. We suffered from premature inauguration. So that's probably the worst step. But the other and final step to this whole process is that the competition is using Vote Viagra. And this is something we've talked about on this broadcast before. Vote Viagra, if you look on the screen there, see that blue straight up line? That is Vote Viagra. That is something that they can do at the last minute and bring in the number of votes that they need to win. So you can end electile dysfunction by voting. So you have to start there, okay? Yes, I know that if voting really mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. Yes, I know. Mark Twainism, right? So I agree with that. However, this is probably our last vote before Jesus returns in 2028. So I just wanted to put this out there. We can all try and end electile dysfunction together. And this is something that we really will need to work on. So just keep all of that in mind, okay? Anyway, so let's move on. I know we've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight, so let's take a look at some of the other stuff that we've got pulled up. First and foremost, SubscribeStar is finally up and running as far as my page on there. So the Diamond Report on SubscribeStar, it's actually running. How about that? It took like over a week to make it work, but I guess they've been really busy. So please contribute to what I'm doing. It really, really helps me pay the bills. It really helps me pay the bills. SubscribeStar is running now, and you can contribute there any amount of money in $5 increments. I've tried to make it as easy as possible and to hit your pocketbook as little as possible. This show takes me a lot of time to put together, as you can imagine, week by week. So be the first subscriber. No one has used this yet. It really just kicked into gear. I think it was yesterday at some point. So the Diamond Report on SubscribeStar. So just do subscribestar.com/DiamondDisc, which is my company name, DIAMONDISC. And the link for that is in the black box in the upper corner, right up that way on the screen. So anyway, there it is, subscribestar.com/DiamondDisc. And then, of course, the Substack is the main communication mechanism, so please subscribe there as well, totally free. And I would certainly appreciate that very much. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that the SubscribeStar system is up and running. So, yes, there we go. Anyway, let's take a look at the news. As I mentioned a little bit ago, this is the security fence. Apparently, I don't know why, but apparently fences do work. Borders, we've learned that you cannot have a wall at the border. It doesn't work, right? And that's what we've been told. But apparently, you can have a wall in Washington, D.C., and that does work. So go figure. Anyway, it works if you're a Democrat behind the wall. I guess that's what it has to be. So, second security fence added at White House and the Capitol. National Guard on standby for election riots, according to HalTurnerRadioshow.com. Pretty wild. And, of course, this is something we mentioned a little while ago as far as, yes, they probably will drag it out. They probably will drag the election out. I think it will most likely make a lot of people very nervous. A lot of people will be very nervous that they're going to steal the election. I think they will steal it as quickly as possible, personally. But maybe they, drag it out for several days, and this is how they're going to protect themselves, they think. So, I would say that they probably don't really need these walls, given what all unfolded on January 6, 2021. Most people are afraid to go protest. Thank you to the United States federal government, because they've thrown everyone in jail who disagrees with them now. So people know this, and they probably won't go riot or do anything crazy as far as MAGA people. Now, there will probably be some BLM rioters and people breaking windows and smashing cars and windows and stuff in buildings. That'll probably happen, unfortunately, again. I'm not calling for any of that, of course, but that did happen when Trump got in 2017. It's possible it could happen again. Hopefully it won't. But they are building another wall, or at least a taller fence. So here we go. Says the District of Criminals is preparing for mass riots after the announcement of the results of the presidential election. So what's that tell you? An additional security cordon below in this picture has been placed around the White House and the Capitol. A second layer of fencing erected around the White House. So there it is, going up. Photo of second inner security fence at U.S. Capitol building. So welcome to the home of the brave and the land of the free. Yeah, right. Other federal government buildings are also being fenced off. Below is the U.S. Treasury building fencing. Look how sharp the tops of those fences look. Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know they are apparently getting ready in D.C. In addition to government buildings, businesses around D.C. have been boarded up in anticipation of riots, which hopefully won't happen. But the feds are definitely going to be provocateuring these types of events. Hopefully they won't happen. But you can bet if there are people throwing Molotov cocktails and causing problems, they're going to be feds, just like always. Because they're the ones that always cause the trouble. And then there's several businesses shown here in this article. National Guard call-ups. National Guard troops have also been ordered to stand by for protests in several states. Washington State Democrat Governor Jay Inslee has activated the National Guard to prepare for potential election-related violence, which means they are going to start the violence. That's what that means. With the order extending beyond November 5th election to address any civil unrest as needed, Oregon, Nevada, and reportedly New Mexico have also put their National Guard on standby. These are traditionally blue states. So if Heels Up Harris is going to win, why would these states need riot control? Unless they already know she's going to lose. See, I disagree with Hal on that one. I think she will win, and they're bringing in the troops anyway to make it look like they're trying to stifle, any sort of insurrection that might happen. But again, if it happens, it will be the feds that start it, just like they did on January 6, 2021. Just basically assume everyone is Ray Epps at this point. If you're in a situation like this, I would say don't even go protest, in my opinion, because we know it's going to be stolen. It's what they do. That's why those people are in charge. That's why they are able to maintain their power. They steal elections. We know this. CIA has been known for decades going into other countries and overthrowing governments. That's what they do. That's what they are doing in this country as well. Now, the question is it too late? I don't know. Only God knows. And if Trump gets in, it will only be because God is willing to let that play out. God, his will is what would transpire as far as if Trump makes it into office without being killed, without his plane being blown up or whatever. Hopefully none of that will happen. Hopefully it will be a peaceful transfer of power, but you can bet, just like almost anybody could, it would be a very easy guess, at least, that that's probably not going to happen this time around, unfortunately. So anyway, all right, let's look at a few of the other headlines I've got pulled up. I've got quite a few things to look at tonight, so we'll try and get through as much as possible. I may have to cut it a little short tonight just because we're going to be doing a longer broadcast on Tuesday as well. So if we need to, we'll cover some of this stuff on the secondary portion of the broadcast this week, which again will be Tuesday at 5 p.m. So 5 p.m. Central Time. 5 Central Time on Tuesday, which is election eve, or election evening, I should say. That's when the next broadcast will be this week. So according to The Hill, Trump and Harris camps prepare to go to the mattress in election legal battles. No pun intended, I'm sure. No, we'll see. We'll see if that's, it's very possible that this entire fiasco could be decided in the courts. It's very possible. And not even on election night. I don't think there's any way that we're going to know on election night, and maybe even weeks in. So it could end up in the courts. It's very possible, and it looks like both sides are preparing to go to court, or to at least have that option. So you can see how neither side is going to be happy with the results, and everybody on one side is going to cry foul versus the other side. So the side that loses is going to say the other side cheated. That's pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point, even though it's been a proven fact that it's the Democrats and the left who have taken cheating to a whole new level. So anyway, again, we'll have to see what happens. We are only hours away. All right, need to know.news. Candace Owens interviews man who links Kamala Harris's mother to MK Ultra mind control. This is something that we talked about previously on this show, and came across this article on needtoknow.news. Thought it was worth mentioning. Last week, Candace Owens revealed that Kamala Harris has Sephardic Jewish ancestry traced back to her father's father that is being blocked. Candace speculated that Kamala is trying to blackify herself to win the black vote, which of course that's what she's doing. That's why her book came out. It had all of these made-up pictures and people in them. Candace interviewed this person, Clark Shimatsu, who is a journalism graduate student at the University of California, Berkeley, when he knew Kamala Harris's mother, Shyamala Gopalan. He made bold statements about Shyamala, including that she revived MKUltra government mind control experiments in Canada at a Jewish hospital. He said that MKUltra originated in London at the Tavistock Institute, and Sigmund Freud's son was made the director of the operation. Isn't that nice? The MKUltra program was later moved to Canada and was also practiced in the U.S. He provided insight into Kamala's childhood with her mother, who is said to be militant, quote unquote, and may have influenced Kamala's curious speech patterns and behavior. Yes, she is a chameleon. Kamala chameleon. She's able to fake her way through different presentations that she's given by adopting different accents. And, of course, nobody believes him, but she tries. So I guess that's what he's referring to. Mr. Shimatsu said that when Kamala was the San Francisco district attorney, she prosecuted black juvenile delinquents for low-level drug crimes, but ignored the Jewish drug cartels that supplied the drugs and was engaged in money laundering. Mr. Shimatsu linked Kamala's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tampon Tim, with counterfeit U.S. dollars floating in the southwestern states of the U.S. due to Kamala's open border, as the phony bills are allied with the Mexican cartels. So her interview is, this is a couple of screenshots, and then it's linked over to her Rumble video. So feel free to have a look at that if you guys want to. Always good information. Candace is doing incredible work, I think. Pennsylvania ABC news station apologizes for showing the presidential election results. It was just a little accident, little slip of the finger. Somebody accidentally clicked the wrong thing on the mouse on the computer, and it just showed up. Harris 52%, Trump 47%, with 100% reporting. This kind of thing always happens. Every election cycle, it seems like somebody puts the wrong thing out. Now, it could be that somebody is trying to blow the whistle and say this is what they're planning. That's possible, but it's also possible that it was something that they were testing, and then, I don't know, I have a hard time believing it went live on the screen without people being aware that it did. That doesn't seem really possible to me, coming from a technical standpoint, but that's probably what they would claim. It was a glitch. It's always a glitch. WNEP, an ABC affiliate, flashed up the results for Pennsylvania during its broadcast of the Formula One race in Mexico City, and they were on screen for several minutes. So that was a long mistake. Kamala Harris, of course, beating Trump by 52% to 47% of the vote. So we will see if that's indeed the final results, quote-unquote, final results for Pennsylvania, if in fact she wins 52 to 47. If so, we will know they had all the information ahead of time. And as I've said before, I mean, what's to stop the media from simply just reporting that she won? How would we know? What proof is there that we could ever, get from them? Especially if they can hack into the machines, like I mentioned at the beginning of this program, using the virtual machine and the nationwide election servers and stuff. Who knows? So anyway, that article is on needtoknow.news. And then from townhall.com, the Pentagon fails to send absentee ballots to active military service members. Oops. They just forgot. Sorry about that. Which, of course, the military votes heavily Republican, heavily conservative. But nope, you don't get to vote. Even though you're there dying for us and dying for your country, nope, you don't get to vote. That's what happens when you have a stolen election, just like what happened last time. Stolen elections have consequences, as we've said many times. Republican lawmakers demand answers from the Pentagon after military service members complain that they have not received enough absentee ballots to vote before Election Day. Yeah, and I'm sure that even if they could vote, they probably would get lost in the mail somehow. It says governors or GOP representatives Mast and Huizenga and Waltz sent a letter to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, citing their grave concern over deficiencies in the Defense Department's protocols for the U.S. military because they said the absentee ballot stockpile has been depleted and had not been replenished. Yeah, they've all been brought over here and given to Democrat voters so that they can vote. So instead of printing more and letting the military vote. Our nation's brave men and women in uniform brought to our attention that there has been an inadequate education at the administrative level on how to register to vote, request an absentee ballot, and fill in a federal write-in absentee ballot if their state-issued ballot does not arrive in time. So, yep, it's all just a coincidence. The troops won't be able to vote. At least some of them. They don't have enough. Just not enough paper to go around these days, I guess. And then, of course, here's some of what's happening. Kentucky voting machines are refusing to let voters select Trump's name, automatically selecting Harris instead. They are stealing the election. Yeah, they're trying. They're trying right up front. They have so many different ways to steal this thing, electronically speaking, of course. So yeah, he's hitting the button on Trump's name, and it's obviously not working. And then finally, when he does hit it, it selects Harris instead, right there. So, there you go. Yep. Seems like the machine's working perfectly, if you ask me. All right. So another Sign of the Times type of article. Los Angeles hit by mass looting and chaos after what? What happened? The Dodgers won the World Series. So, of course, you go burn down your city. That's the next thing you do when your team wins. I mean, who wouldn't? Los Angeles, a bus was set on fire, shops were looted by organized thieves, and fireworks thrown at police. Fireworks thrown at police in scenes of lawlessness and absolute chaos in downtown L.A. following the Dodgers' historic World Series win over the New York Yankees. Yes, they've never won the World Series before, apparently. No, they have. Cars were also doing donuts in intersections and interrupting traffic. The police officer was injured. Several arrests were made, but almost every criminal got away with their crime. Yes, of course. Probably BLM protesters. No, I don't know. It's crazy. Just any excuse to go nuts, and that's what they were allowed to do. And of course, they don't come down on them and prevent them from doing what they're doing. They don't arrest anybody, or if they do, they let them go right away. So yeah, fires have been set on LA Metro bus, leading to chaos erupting in LA after the Dodgers won the 2024 World Series. So there you go. Anyways, just wanted you guys to know about that. The $212 billion food ingredient poisoning your brain. We've heard a lot about that particular ingredient lately. Let's see if it is what I think it is. I'm guessing oils. Let's see. It says in 1865, people ate 0 processed vegetable and seed oils, but in modern times, people eat 80 grams a day or close to a pound of vegetable oils per week. 1 pound. Vegetable oils are now a $212 billion industry. In 1980, guidelines for Americans swapped out animal fats like butter and lard for vegetable and seed oils. Certain seafood contains fat that may increase brain size and IQ. Prior to the introduction of vegetable and seed oils into the American diet, heart attacks were rare. In 1948, the makers of Crisco, a cottonseed oil product, gave the American Heart Association $1.7 million in 1948. That's a lot of money. And the AHA, American Heart Association, recommended replacing animal-derived fats in the diet. Isn't that nice? No corruption there. The video below provides dietary recommendations to increase DHA that is linked to higher IQ and other health benefits. So there's a video embedded here. I've not watched it. However, it is there if you guys want to check it out. So yeah, American Heart Association, like the FDA and the CDC and the EPA and all these other corrupt organizations, are simply there to let industry, to let corporations kill us. And they make it okay, saying that their product's just fine. It's just fine. Meanwhile, there's a huge interchange between government and those corporate, heads of those corporations, going back and forth. So yeah, making millions of dollars each on these things. The internet is getting flushed down Orwell's memory hole. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. George Orwell quote. We interrupt today's important election coverage for a story that could have impacts even longer lasting than Harris's first $10 trillion budget. He says, I'll wash my keyboard out with soap later for typing the phrase President Kamala Harris. When the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine was hacked in early October, it looked, at first, just like another email and password smash and grab, but that was followed up by repeated DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks, that crippled the service. The Internet Archive was hit again on October 20th, this time with the threat actors gaining access to their Zendesk support email system. The Wayback Machine came back, but as a read-only service. What this means is, while you can search archived web pages from before the attacks, you can't currently capture an existing web page into the archive. That matters bigly. When the New York Times, Washington Post, or anyone else stealth edits a news report to hide the truth, you can still find the original on the Wayback Machine. That's no longer true. For the first time in 30 years, we have gone a long swath of time since October 8th through the 10th, since this service has chronicled the life of the Internet in real time. As of this writing, fully 3 weeks of web content have not been archived. What we are missing and what has changed is anyone's guess, and we have no idea when the service will come back. It's entirely possible that it will not come back, and the only real history to which we can take recourse will be pre-October 8th, 2024, the date on which everything changed, which was my birthday. I won't forget the date. But it gets worse. Google killed off its cache feature. I noticed that some time ago. Similar to the Wayback Machine, right around the time the Internet Archive got hacked. Coincidence? Probably not. But I'm making a tinfoil hat just in case, this person says. The White House just got caught altering Presidentish Joe Biden's garbage remarks. Nothing to see here. Just the Biden-Harris administration deliberately falsifying federal records. No, it's fine. They got caught this time, and sources like X still have the original video, but what happens next time when some politician or MSM editor waits for the furor to die down before making their stealth edit, there's no Wayback Machine to catch them. Wikipedia is the de facto internet encyclopedia, but has proven time and time again to be biased and at best and subject to stealth edits at worst. Yeah, I've noticed that as well. More people are using AI to perform their web searches and summaries for them, but the large language models are scraping data from sources increasingly subject to manipulation. Yeah, they're all these LLMs, large language models, are given primarily left-wing propaganda-type data to draw its conclusions from, of course. So that's how it, when it spits back a result, that's the information it gives you, of course. Not biased at all. Anyway, there's more info here on this site, but I thought that was kind of interesting. The archive, the Internet Archive, is being flushed, being stopped, I should say. All right, this is maybe a little good news. We'll see. Boeing dismantles its DEI department, joining major companies in scrapping controversial policy. Boeing reportedly dismantled its Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, DEI, department as part of an overhaul of its operations ordered by the company's new top executive, becoming the latest major company to ditch the controversial initiative. The aerospace giant, which was slammed by Musk for prioritizing DEI over safety and quality controls after a near-catastrophic blowout during an Alaska Airlines flight, said staff from its DEI office would be absorbed into another human resources team focused on talent and employee experience, according to Bloomberg. You believe that one? No, they didn't fire the people. They just gave them a different job. So anyway, the new company vice president was put in charge of the now defunct DEI unit, left the company on Thursday. Sarah Liang Bowen was her name. So we'll see. Not convinced it will make much difference, but maybe it will. Maybe it will. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, or at least try. So that's Boeing. And then Revolver.news article, another one. This is the only time Kamala pulled in a big rally without a music headliner, and here's why. It says, let's face it, there's not a line of people waiting to hear Kamala speak. She's uninspiring, has nothing new or interesting to offer, and most of the time when she opens her mouth, she just ends up sticking both feet in. She's her own worst enemy, and one of the least appealing political candidates we've seen. No wonder she's running for the White House without a single primary vote. Yes, but it doesn't matter. She is an empty suit, and that's all they need. So how does she manage to pull in a massive crowd at a rally just 1 week before the election? Is the tide suddenly turning for Harris and Walz? Well, not exactly. Yes, it's true. Harris did pull in a large crowd. I'm surprised they're not touting this more for her final big pitch to America, but it's not what you think. No, she wasn't in Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin rallying tens of thousands under some working class message. Instead, Kamala was in the D.C. swamp, speaking to elite federal workers, bureaucrats, and deep state operatives, laying out how her globalist policies would keep them all employed. Yeah, because when they report new jobs numbers, that's what they're talking about. The government's gotten bigger. The government has more jobs. So that's the people who came out in force to see her. Government bureaucrats. Nice. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. Zero Hedge article. There are no watchers. RNC sues Georgia counties over last-minute decision to accept weekend ballots and block GOP observers. So Georgia, of course, is not really a swing state, but because of Atlanta, has become a swing state. Something to keep an eye on. It says the RNC is suing several counties in Georgia, not that it'll matter, citing a simultaneous decision to accept ballots over the weekend, then block Republican poll workers in defiance of guidance issued by the Secretary of State. Fulton, Cobb, DeKalb, and Gwinnett counties decided at the last minute to accept ballots over the weekend, which disregards the law, wrote the RNC chairman. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's fine when they do it. He should know this. So anyway, yep. Georgia Republican Party Chairman Josh McCoon condemns blatant violation of Georgia poll watching law. So we'll see if this has any effect on the election. My guess is it will, to some degree. All right, America First report, RFK Jr. to Trump, banned Big Pharma from advertising on TV, which is the way it used to be, by the way. You didn't used to see commercials for every drug that they make and then telling people to ask their doctor if they think it's right for them. Remember that? That didn't exist prior to Clinton, by the way. I don't know if you guys remember that. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will advise Trump to ban Big Pharma ads on TV. He announced his intentions during final stop in the Tucker Carlson live tour earlier this week. According to Kennedy, advertising money spent on TV has nothing to do with trying to sell their products and everything to do with keeping networks from running negative stories or investigations about them. Of course. There have been numerous reports and even full documentaries about this practice over the years, but it's still considered to be a conspiracy theory as reported by corporate media. That's because it's true. They wouldn't call it a conspiracy theory if it was actually false. That's what I've learned. Anyway, yeah, that's the way it was prior to President Bill Clinton. Remember that? Remember that guy? What a clown. But, yep, that's one of the many Clintonisms. That's one of the things that happened while he was in office. Things that changed. All right. I don't usually report much from the Daily Wire just because I don't really get the whole Ben Shapiro thing. I don't want to support what they're doing. However, I'll just point you to this article if you want to take a look at it. Biden administration authorizes mass overtime to process Haitian migrants before Inauguration Day, an agent says. So they do have the money to do that. They don't have the FEMA funds to help the people in North Carolina, no, but they will be paying overtime to process Haitian migrants before Inauguration Day. Biden-Harris administration has authorized massive overtime so Department of Homeland Security agents can grant temporary status to as many illegal immigrants as possible before a new president is inaugurated. And I'll probably try and get him in before the election if it'll help him. Jason, which is an alias given to this agent who spoke with the Daily Wire on the condition of anonymity, I always love that, said, that just means he wants to cover his butt and keep his job. He's really afraid he'll get fired. But he kind of wants to do the right thing, although not completely. That's what that means. Condition of anonymity. Said supervisors have told workers in recent weeks that they should aim to clear the backlog of temporary protected status, TPS, applications within 120 days. Doing so would allow these illegal immigrants to live and work in the country and shield them from deportation for 2 years. The department is offering 30 hours of overtime per pay period to expedite processing of the immigrants who come from countries including Haiti, Venezuela, and Lebanon. All of our friends, the people who want nothing but the best for the citizens of this country. But you can see the Department of Homeland Insecurity, is bending over backwards to make sure they become citizens as quickly as possible and before Inauguration Day. I guess because ostensibly they're afraid of who's going to be inaugurated. Remains to be seen, right? Here's what I mentioned earlier. The Internet Archive has not been archiving since 10.8. Google Cache has stopped caching. The Alexa service, the one that used to rank web traffic, not the Amazon virtual assistant, is gone. The Alexa service is gone. The ability of sensors to memory hole the internet is growing. So starting last month, there will be no going back. No going back. So, yeah, and you watch. Eventually the whole database of the Internet Archive will probably disappear too. And they'll just say, what Internet Archive? That never existed. You're insane. It's the gaslighting administration, isn't it? All right, for the sad news of the week, I'm sure you all know, yes, I only really found out about Peanut the squirrel, I would say within the last 24 hours. I'm not an Instagram person because I don't do the whole phone app thing and all of that nonsense. But anyway, this says Instagram famous Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon were euthanized. I won't bother playing the video. It's pretty sad because the owner of the very famous animals are very well known, and many people already know about this story, but I thought I would mention it. Fans are saying goodbye to Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon 2 days after the animal's owner, Mark Longo, said they'd been seized by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Yeah, the Environmental Conservation Department of New York State. They swooped in and basically took their animals and euthanized them. Says the agency confirmed to NBC News that the critters had been euthanized to test for rabies, which of course they didn't have. They were fine. They were living in this guy's house. The animals were taken October 30th after DEC officials, again, Department of Environmental Conservation, who likes to murder animals, learned that they were sharing a residence with humans, creating the potential for human exposure to rabies. Can't dogs get rabies? They're not, at least not yet, killing people's dogs, but they might. That's the next logical step. The agency said in a joint statement with the Chemung County Department of Health. The state also said Peanut bit one of the officials involved in the investigation. Well, he probably knew what was coming to him. He was smart, obviously. He knew a government bureaucrat when he saw one. The DEC began looking into the animal's living situation after it received multiple reports from the public about the potentially unsafe housing of wildlife that could carry rabies and the illegal keeping of wildlife as pets, the agency said in a statement to the AP. Longo, who operates the wildlife shelter called Peanut's Freedom Farm Animal Sanctuary, tearfully reacted to the news on social media along with his wife. So there he is. So we'll have more on Peanut here in a little bit, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That was the Yahoo News article that I came across on Peanut. Very sad. But he's now running around in heaven somewhere, probably, waiting on this guy, what's his name? Mark Longo, to get there if he's a believer as well. All right, and then Revolver.news, Dems panic that secretive government censorship agency will be terminated if Trump wins, which of course they will never allow to happen, if you ask me. With its censorship capacity limited and reputational cancellations attempts no longer working the way that they once did, the regime has largely resorted to a combination of lawfare and potentially assassination to go after Trump and his supporters in the 2024 cycle, a deeply troubling phenomenon about which we've written extensively. With Musk's takeover of X, the public's exposure to the Twitter files, and the looming extinction of key censorship think tanks, such as the Stanford Internet Observatory and the censorship industrial complex, has taken a number of severe blows in the past couple years. The little-known but deeply important Global Engagement Center is another crown jewel of the censorship complex that is almost sure to be radically reformed or disbanded entirely in the event that Trump returns to the White House. And the deep state is in panic. So, yeah, we will see. Looks like they're already running, screaming the other direction if Trump could potentially win. So, I don't know. Not sure that'll happen, but you can see how terrified they are of him. I came across this one and figured I'd mention it, but you guys already know how perverse these people are. It says, Kamala's final pitch to young men. This is how they see all of us now. Young men, at least. This is their pitch. From Kamala: weed, crypto, porn, video games, and vasectomies. Oh my. So, yeah. Not abortion. That's for the girls. Kamala has a final pitch for men who are still on the fence about supporting her. Instead of offering these guys a reprieve from the relentless vilification and hate spewed by the left, Kamala Harris has come up with her own plan. Pacify men with porn, crypto, weed, video games, and vasectomies. Think we're joking? Sadly, we're not. This is the platform Harris has chosen to close her campaign with, a promise of perversion and decadence to lure men to her side, while she and her progressive agenda continue stripping them of their identity and their soul, working to turn them into effeminate shells of their former selves. That's true. Yeah, I mean, just look at Tim Walz as your example. Anyway, yep, that's all they can do. That's all they can appeal to is all of that garbage. That's on Revolver, and so is this one. Kimmel uses federal airwaves to spread election misinformation, which was the same thing that Doug Mackey was convicted for. You guys might remember this story. The whole Doug Mackey thing with the Hillary Clinton voting thing that they had found him guilty for when he did some tweeting back in, I think it was 2016. So, but yeah, this is Jimmy Kimmel, doing the same exact type of thing. The most important First Amendment case in this country has just been placed back on the front burner, thanks again to late-night Trump hater Jimmy Kimmel. Kimmel used federal airwaves to spread an anti-Trump Election Day misinformation joke, misinformation, quote-unquote, leaving many wondering if and when he'll be facing prison time too. After all, what Kamala just did on national TV was far less of an offense than Douglas Mackey's satirical anti-Hillary meme, which humorously told people to text their vote instead of waiting in line, and was shared on Twitter. So Kimmel says, if you want to vote for Trump, vote late, vote very late, do your voting on Thursday or maybe Friday. Well, Mr. Kimmel should be in a boatload of trouble, right? After all, according to the Harris and Biden DOJ, the American people just aren't savvy enough to understand election satire jokes. So naturally, people need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Hey, we don't make the rules, Jimmy. That's the reasoning that was used when the Biden and Harris regime decided to go after Douglas Mackey. They tried and convicted him for simply sharing a funny anti-Hillary meme on social media. That was back in 2016. And in the process, they created the biggest First Amendment nightmare in U.S. history. We've covered the Mackey case from every angle, and to this day, we still believe it's the most important First Amendment case ever. This is Revolver News talking. And we're not alone. Tucker Carlson, back when he was still hosting Fox News, covered the Mackey case every chance he got. He understood the far-reaching consequences of Mackey's conviction, and he was right. Yes, but again, it's okay when they do it, and Jimmy Kimmel is one of they. He can do it. He won't get in trouble. Mark my words. Guaranteed. So anyway, yep, Revolver's got that story. And then also, the same thing here on the Post-Millennial. Kimmel spreads election disinformation by joking Trump supporters should vote late. Biden-Harris administration prosecuted Douglas Mackey for less. Yeah, and he had a probably smaller crowd because Douglas Mackey, even though he posted it on Twitter, it was Twitter 1.0 at the time. So whatever he posted on there most likely got throttled. So anyway, more of the same story there on Post-Millennial. Everything that you were told, this is something that we covered back at the time this happened. I guess it was after the outcry, what happened in the UK. Everything that you were told about the African teen murdering little girls at a Taylor Swift dance class was a lie. Several months ago, an African teenager brutally slaughtered innocent little girls at a Taylor Swift dance class. This teenager, the son of migrant parents from Rwanda, was supposedly born in the UK. Officials pounced on that narrative the moment public outrage surged and riots erupted. UK citizens, fed up with watching their children die at the hands of migrants, were painted as the villains. Yeah, and people were jailed for quite some time afterwards. Okay, so this says Tommy Robinson, who is now in jail himself, back in prison. Tommy Robinson stated 3 children were brutally murdered at a Taylor Swift dance class yesterday, and the police are managing, quote unquote, the situation in order to keep the people quiet. Hundreds of Muslims hit Rochdale police station because one of them attacked officers and got a kick. The police didn't even intervene. The people of Southport are rightfully angry, and I don't blame them one bit. So that was what Tommy Robinson put out on his Twitter. And then there's a video clip here as well. Meanwhile, this teen killer was spun as just a kid from Wales, a lovely lad who only wanted to make friends in his new home and somehow got off track just a little bit. This is the photo that the media used. That's the photo. And I did see that picture. But this is what he really looks like. Same guy. Needless to say, we now know that everything we were told about this violent teenager was a lie. It turns out that this teenager, portrayed by officials and the media, who was just covering for him, as just another misunderstood UK resident, has been charged with more than just murder and attempted murder. This lovely young lad, quote unquote, as the media would have you believe, has also been hit with terrorism charges after authorities found ricin and an Al-Qaeda manual inside his home. He was a full-blown terrorist, and those concerned and fed-up UK residents said it all along. And again, some of those people are in jail from this, for protesting. How long has the government known this, yet still harassed, targeted, and arrested UK residents for speaking the truth? Now, with this disturbing truth finally leaking out, public outrage is reaching a whole new level. Yeah, but it is the British we're talking about. What are they going to do about it? Maybe nothing. Anyway, there's even more here on this article. So yeah, it's a little bit of a difference in perception. Kind of important. All right, technocracy.news. They said, what? Technocrats are scrubbing history off the internet, which is something we've already mentioned tonight. This could be the final straw for free speech when the history of the internet is scrubbed to make changes to websites disappear. It remains to be seen if archive.org, the Internet Archive, will stay dark going forward. This is tantamount to a sudden onset of digital Alzheimer's. That's a good way to put it. It spells the end of memory. This serves technocracy's agenda perfectly. Orwell would be shocked at how much they're actually accomplishing. I like that. Digital Alzheimer's. That's exactly what it is. All right. Second article, beware, vaccine passports and cult worship are around the corner. When the U.S., Canada, and Mexico team up on technocratic initiatives like this, it brings up memories of the failed North American Union in 2005 that was pushed by members of the Trilateral Commission. Now that is being now it is being wrapped up in the insidious cult of One Health, quote unquote, based on Gaia worship, Wicca, and neo-paganism, and that seeks control of plants, animals, and humans. This is regionalism at its worst. So that's another article on technocracy.news, and then this one as well. Failure pending. Central bank digital currency, CBDC, projects are floundering in Five Eye nations. The Uber technocrats' Trilateral Pact Atlantic Council is wigging out over the possibility that the U.S. might ban CBDCs. If this happens, I think they mean if Trump gets in. If this happens, the future of CBDCs for the rest of the world is in total jeopardy. The vast majority of U.S. citizens are against CBDCs. So there is political pressure. This could deal a fatal blow to globalization. Again, it's just the money. Not a big deal, right? I think presidents have been killed for that. Just that. So we'll see. Which is, kind of what I've been saying. I don't think they could possibly allow Trump to get in. Neom. You guys know Neom. Well, we can see the beginning of this article at least. Is world's biggest smart city worth 100,000 lives so far? For all the hype, Saudi Arabia is on the verge of the most colossal building project flop in history. They have already scaled the project from 100 miles to 1.5 miles. They are building the city with contract workers imported from African nations, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Nepal, and India, and who are routinely abused. Over 8 years, 21,000 workers have died. So I think they're saying maybe that 100,000 could be a projection. I don't know. Again, this is behind the paywall, but it's probably worth looking at. If you could go back on the Internet Archive and pull this article up, you could probably do so for free. But, oh yeah, there is no Internet Archive, at least nothing since October the 8th. This article was put out on October 31st. So anyway, that was the fourth and final article I had for you guys on technocracy.news. Some of the ones that I brought up on Reclaim the Net, reclaimthenet.org. Several interesting headlines. Inside the push for police-run misinformation units. Police Run. Lexipol, a private consultancy geared towards providing services to law enforcement in the U.S., has come up with a recommendation to law enforcement to set up a misinformation/disinformation unit. That cannot be good. It says a piece published to on the company's platform, policeone.com, asks its client police departments whether they are prepared for the battle against mis and disinformation, which of course is the truth. Coming from Lexipol, this is no ordinary question, as the firm is said to have contracts with more than 8,000 law enforcement agencies and is consequently considered to be a key player in what is known as privatized police policy making. According to Lexipol's own statements, its reach in March 2020 extended to 8,100 agencies that use the company's services and manuals. So yeah, they're ready to start enforcing the misinformation units coming from the police level. That is not good. Democrats push a resolution to condemn the spread of hurricane disinformation. Again, got to turn the police loose on people who are spreading hurricane disinformation, like steering hurricanes and hurricanes targeting Trump areas and all of that crazy information that just can't possibly be true. We're going to come arrest you. All right, this one says, amidst the recovery efforts following Hurricanes Helene and Milton, a catastrophic period marked by significant loss of life and damages in the billions, a contentious debate has arisen within political circles regarding the suppression of disinformation. A cohort of Democrat lawmakers, led by House Homeland Security Committee ranking member Benny Thompson, with support from 36 others, has introduced a resolution that criticizes the dissemination of what they label as disinformation about the storms and the government's response. This initiative reflects a broader tension between the principles of free expression and the need to combat harmful misinformation. In times of emergency, this resolution specifically rebukes what it terms malicious rumors, quote unquote, which have implicated even elected officials in the spread of misleading or false information about FEMA's role in disaster response. Because we know FEMA is perfect. They haven't made any mistakes ever. They've never made a mistake, right? And you cannot criticize them. So anyway, that is on reclaimthenet.org as well. UK government makes major digital ID push. UK government has launched the Office for Digital Identities. Again, UK government, Office for Digital Identities and Attribute, OFDIA. The digital ID watchdog within the Department of Science, Innovation, and Technology, tasked with encouraging the growth of the digital ID market under the leadership of the Chief Executive Hannah Reuter. With this, the Labour government picked up where the Conservative one left off, considering that the office was first announced by the previous cabinet in 2022 when it was envisaged as an interim entity for introducing digital ID in the UK. Convenience is once again at the center of the way the authorities explain the need for such a push. Yeah. So anyway, digital identity can make people's lives easier. No, it's only going to make the government's lives easier, not the people's. So that one is on Reclaim the Net, and one more from there. Former State Department official laments social media won't play censor for the feds anymore. The original Russiagate might have been debunked a long time ago, but politicians and officials continue to seek to explain their electoral failures by accusing other countries of meddling. There is an even more serious angle to their insistence on this, namely, using it as justification for putting in place what opponents and congressional investigation call the government big tech collusion to censor online speech. So, yeah. So that is another article on Reclaim the Net. Here's why Trump just claimed credit for killing the Nord Stream 2. Thought this one was kind of peculiar. He wanted to dispel whatever doubts some undecided voters might still have about his ties to Russia by reminding them that he imposed sanctions against the mega project, meaning the Nord Stream 2, which debunked the Democrats' Russiagate claims and were even hypocritically waived by Biden for a 9-month period. Trump boasted during his live interview with Tucker at a charity event in Arizona on Thursday night that he was responsible for killing, quote-unquote, Nord Stream 2. In his words, the Democrats love to say that I was a friend of Russia. I worked for Russia. I was a Russian spy. The biggest job Russia ever had was Nord Stream 2. This was the biggest pipeline in the world. It goes from Russia to Germany and all over Europe. I killed it, he says. No one would kill it but me. I stopped it. He has a point. He has a point that will be elaborated on. So he might have stopped it, but Biden blew it up. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Anyways, so that's on the Liberty Beacon. And then got a few articles on RT. RT.com. Trump's backers deserve a smack, Biden has said. So he's already called Trump's people, Trump's backers, garbage. Now he's saying that they deserve a smack. U.S. president has vented, I would say U.S. fake president, has vented his frustration at Republicans for supporting Trump's promise of tax cuts. Biden has condemned Trump's promise of lower taxes for higher earners and lashed out at macho guys, quote unquote, who support such ideas. Macho guys. Look at him. That's too funny. There's one more thing Trump and his Republican friends want to do. They want to have a giant tax cut for the wealthy. They love that phrase, don't they? And the Democrats are the ones who get the most donations from the wealthy. If you look at it, under all metrics, they're the ones with the billions and billions and billions of dollars coming in. They are. It's a simple fact. Says, now I know some of you guys are tempted to think it's macho guys, he continued, in apparent reference to Trump supporters. I tell you what, man, when I was in Scranton, so we go back to Scranton again. Here goes the Joe story. We used to have a little trouble going down the plot once in a while. These are the kind of guys you'd like to smack in the arse, he said, showing gritted teeth and clenched fists, which is our picture that we've got here. By the way, I'm serious, he added. So, kind of guys you'd like to smack in the arse. No, that's something you do when you really like somebody, right? I mean, apparently, I've seen ball players do it. But look at him. He's just beside himself. He wants to smack someone in the arse as well. Preferably little kids. That's his favorite. Lula reveals his choice for the next U.S. president, and let me take a wild guess. Probably not Trump. Says Brazil's president has said, for the sake of democracy, the Democrat candidate's win in the U.S. election would be better. Be better for him. Be better for the military-industrial complex. It'd be better for the censorship industrial complex. It would be better for the communists in charge of everything, and Lula is one. Brazilian President Lula has said his personal preference for an outcome in the U.S. election is for Democrat candidate Kamala Harris to become the next U.S. president. He loves her. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention it. Not exactly news, but there you go. RT releases Bullet for the President documentary. The film retraces the footsteps of the would-be assassin who fired shots at Trump's rally in Pennsylvania in July. So I didn't know if you guys cared about this or not. It is there, apparently. I don't know if I have not seen it, so I can't really comment on that. But it's a documentary produced by RT called Bullet for the President. So I don't know, being how he's had more than one attempt on his life, I don't know if there'll be multiple documentaries or not. This one's just on the first one. British king making millions from secret property empire, according to the Times. Now, which British king do you suppose they might be talking about? King Charles III, KC3, and his son, Prince William, have contracts with UK taxpayer-funded public services, charities, government departments, and even a prison, which help them earn millions every year. The Sunday Times has claimed that is in addition to the so-called sovereign grants the royals get from the government. In 2023 alone, Charles and William's private fiefdoms raised £27.4 million, which is over $35 million. For the British royal family, the newspaper found as part of the joint investigation with Channel 4's Dispatches program. The paper said that they used royal addresses to uncover their businesses and their business contracts and discovered how the duchies are making money via a series of commercial rents and feudal levies and land largely seized by medieval monarchs. So going way back. They earn revenue from toll bridges, ferries, sewage pipes, churches, village halls, pubs, distilleries, gas pipelines, boat moorings, open cast and underground mines, car parks, rental homes, and wind turbines. But he's not the Antichrist. No. He doesn't have trillions at his disposal. KC3, I mean. No, not at all. I just thought that was somewhat interesting, given what we know about this interesting person. So, yeah. We'll see what happens, right? All right. People's Voice headlines. FBI sees Diddy blackmail tapes featuring Kamala and J-Lo. Well, that's interesting. RFK says Trump will ban fluoride from the drinking water. So we will see. Iran preparing for nuclear war with Israel and U.S. within months, quote unquote. Not good. UK government blames civil unrest in Europe on Russian disinformation, just like always. After vowing to endorse no effing presidents, no more, Cardi B endorses Kamala Harris. Biden says Trump and his supporters are the kind of guys he'd like to smack in the you-know-what. I don't know if he meant smack or do something else. I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. WEF Insider, planned civil war for 2025 will usher in the New World Order. There's your plans right there. Planned civil war for 2025. Usher in the New World Order. That's what they want. The internet is being scrubbed like a crime scene. Who's behind it, and what are they hiding? They're hiding all of their illegalities, all of their crimes, of course. So then this one says, FBI sees Diddy blackmail tapes featuring Kamala. So I'm wondering, I just pulled this up, having not really looked at it much. I wanted to see if it says any additional information, what they have on Kamala, because whatever it is, you know they're going to bury it. So it doesn't really say. So anyways, not that I'm seeing anyway. So yeah, Kamala and Diddy. Oh, well, I guess that does make sense. It's talking about how everyone who is in Hollywood is recently coming out for supporting her for president, just happens to be on the Diddy list. Says the entertainment industry elite are not the only ones sweating bullets. Diddy held incriminating material on the political elite too, which is days to go for the U.S. presidential election. Harris is feeling the pressure. According to an insider from Diddy's LA party scene, Kamala is terrified that footage seized from a notorious 90s party will resurface, unleashing a November surprise from which there will be no possible return. Oh, I don't know. They'll just say it's AI or something. It's a deep fake, that's what they'll say. According to insiders from Diddy's LA circle, Kamala has been rubbing shoulders, maybe other things too, with Diddy's criminal gang for decades, and she's featured at a notorious freak-off with J-Lo, where the two were encouraged to degrade themselves to gain favor with the elite. Kamala would do that? Surely not. Anyway, who knows? It's really only hearsay because we don't know. Nothing's been released, of course, but it is interesting. It says, notice anything about all these celebrities that have endorsed Kamala? Well, Cardi B, LeBron James, Martha Stewart, Taylor Swift, Ellen DeGeneres, Beyonce, Ben Stiller, Oprah Winfrey, Madonna, Jay-Z, DiCaprio, and J-Lo. Says they've all endorsed Kamala Harris, but spoiler alert, they're all in Diddy's inner circle, and they're all desperate to avoid prosecution for their crimes. But yep, we know who they want to be president. There you go. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. All right, let's see. WNG.org, at least 95 dead in eastern Spain after flooding. So this is something that Mr. Dane has referred to about has to be weather warfare at this point. So yeah, it says military canine units on Thursday sought people still missing in these different places here in Spain, Valencia and Castilla-La Mancha and elsewhere, according to the state-run media outlet. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of people in different areas still lack power. Authorities carried out 3,400 rescues since the storm first hit. So they don't have FEMA over there working for them. They have an organization that apparently works. Officials have provided basic necessities to some people affected by the storm, but thieves have looted shops and supermarkets. So, yeah. Anyway, that is happening in Spain. Didn't know if you guys knew about that. It's flooding in Spain in November. Guess that makes sense? Of course. Kremlin finds Google more than the world's collective GDP. Thought this was kind of humorous. I'm not exactly sure how they will collect on this one. But here it is. It says the Kremlin has fined Google's parent company, Alphabet, 2 undecillion rubles. Undecillion. For blocking some of its content on YouTube, according to Russia's state-run TASS news outlet. That's roughly 20 decillion US dollars. I've never even heard of decillion. That's a 20 with 33 zeros after it. Wow. It says that this website reached out to Google for comment, but they didn't immediately receive a response. That is funny. The fine was so large because of an accrued interest. 20 decillion dollars. That's like saying 100 bazillion billion million. Makes about as much sense, but it's a 20 with 33 zeros. So pay up, Google. And interestingly enough, they also fined Alex Jones for the exact same amount. So, anyway, and then one more on this same site. Paul Pelosi's attacker has been sentenced to life in prison. You know this guy, David DePape. California judge sentenced DePape to life in prison without the possibility of parole. San Francisco jury convicted the 44-year-old of attacking Paul Pelosi, the husband of Nancy Pelosi, with a hammer during a 2022 home break-in. So, life in prison without the possibility of parole. But Paul Pelosi, yes, he was injured. He's not dead. Interesting, though, huh? Kind of throwing the book at this guy. But he has forgotten the most important rule, and that is, the first thing you have to know about Gay Hammer Fight Club is that you never talk about Gay Hammer Fight Club. Period. He broke that rule. Now it's life in prison, no parole. Jews are now releasing new studies to show that the Jesus fish miracle was a trick, quote unquote. Schools of dead fish just float to the top of that lake. So I've been criticized a lot lately about criticizing Israel. So, unfairly, I would say, because people aren't listening to what I'm saying. And they're not taking the things that I say in the context of the way I'm saying them. They're taking them out of context. So again, let me read this. It's not really a headline. It's just this blurb here on this news site. Jews are now releasing, quote, new studies to show that the Jesus fish miracle, where he feeds the thousands, the Jesus fish miracle was a trick that schools of dead fish just float to the top of that lake. It's in the Daily Mail. Jesus' fish miracle from the Bible is explained by scientists for the first time. That's because they just thunk it up. They just made it up because it's total BS. Bruce Springsteen, Barbra Streisand, Bravo Sierra. They just made it up. And then right under the headline here, it says, read more. Mysterious object shows that Jesus really was magic. No, he wasn't magic. He is the Son of God. Scientists have discovered a possible explanation behind how Jesus performed one of his most famous miracles. I'm surprised they don't have miracles in quotes. The Bible includes 2 accounts of Christ turning fishermen's unsuccessful fishing attempts into massive hauls that fed their communities for weeks. Known as the miraculous catch of fish, the miracles were said to have been performed in Israel's Lake Kinneret, where Jesus preached. Now, a new study has found that a natural phenomenon that occurs at certain times of the year may have played a role. And he timed it apparently exactly perfect. Phytoplankton blooms block out the oxygen, cause fish to suffocate to death, and they just floated to the surface at that exact moment in time. Never mind the fact that he only started with a few and fed all of those people, just like the Bible talks about. So anyway, not saying that the fish kill doesn't happen, but it's interesting that they're trying to prove this miracle wasn't actually an actual real miracle by Jesus, the Son of God. Anyway, that's on Daily Mail, believe it or not. Real Clear Wire, is the left preparing for war if Trump wins? I think they're preparing for war either way, if you ask me. Propaganda campaign labeling Trump as an aspiring dictator determined to use the military and national security apparatus, which of course the left is the one doing, against his political opponents, which again is the left doing that, is designed not to affect the upcoming election, but rather to shape the post-election environment. It's the central piece of the narrative that, by characterizing Trump as a tyrant, indeed likening him to Hitler, establishes the conditions for violence, not just another attempt on Trump's life, but political violence on a massive scale intended to destabilize the country. Well said. So anyway, pretty lengthy article here. This is on Real Clear Wire. Just wanted to mention that one. Gateway Pundit. Second victim. Biden puts baby's entire foot in his mouth after biting another baby at a Halloween celebration. He just can't help himself. The old pedophile. That's what they do. Joe Biden put a baby's entire foot in his mouth after biting another infant during the White House trick-or-treat event on Wednesday. Yeah, he's the monster. Biden, I mean. And the baby is the victim. Both of the incidents were caught on camera by bystanders. Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Biden has bitten yet another baby's foot tonight. Who is letting this happen and why? I know, there are all of these mothers that take their little babies up to this guy. What are they thinking? Biden also bit another infant on the leg. So, yep, spooky is right. So, happy Halloween, I guess, if you are Joseph Biden. And came across this meme. I can't afford food and an illegal immigrant killed my family. You're human garbage, Jack. As he eats his ice cream. That kind of tells us what he really thinks. U.S. warns Tehran it will not restrain Israel if Iran retaliates. So, again, this is like, what in the world is going on here? Because if Iran retaliates, they're retaliating from an initial attack that Israel started. Israel started this whole thing. And U.S. is warning Iran, that if they retaliate, they're not going to restrain Israel. Iran has kept up its saber rattling in the wake of last week's Israeli aerial attack, which itself was the much anticipated response to the Iranian ballistic missile attack of October 1. Washington is now warning Tehran that it won't be able to hold back Israel if the Islamic Republic retaliates. We told the Iranians we won't be able to hold Israel back. It's not like they give them billions of dollars and they do everything they say. Nope, not at all. We won't be able to make sure that the next attack will be calibrated and targeted as the previous one. Yep, and it's already been put out in a very mainstream way that if Iran is attacked, it's really the same thing as attacking Russia and the same thing as attacking China. They're all best buddies. North Korea. So, yeah, this is not good. But I don't expect that the U.S. government will do anything but support Israel unequivocally. Came across this article as well. The Saudi Gazette says Saudi Arabia to host the first high-level meeting of the Global Coalition for Two-State Solution. And that was a few days ago, I guess. So they're trying to work on this two-state solution, I guess, but Israel's not even there. They're trying to come up with some way of getting Israel to stop genociding Gaza. But Israel already has a two-state solution. They just haven't bothered to tell anybody else about it, but they do. They have one. It's called What's Mine is Mine and What's Yours is Mine. That's their two-state solution. So I just thought I would point that out because apparently the Saudis don't understand that or don't know that. Severe and dangerous new developments, Israel, Iran / Ukraine, and Russia. Yep. So mostly I wanted to mention this because it's on Hal's site, but it's from a few days ago. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov declared this morning, this was the 28th of October, if Ukraine joins NATO, again, this is from the Foreign Minister of Russia, really important guy. He says, if Ukraine joins NATO, either Ukraine disappears or NATO does. I tend to believe him. That's on Hal Turner's website. And then I found this one as well. The Nemos News Network. Dem operative caught in undercover video explaining how they allegedly stole the 2020 election in Georgia. The state, not the country. From kicking out GOP poll watchers to nursing home ballot harvesting to identifying a driver in 2,000 mules. So, yeah, this is, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but this guy, Joel Caldwell, Director of Operations Coalition for the People's Agenda, meaning for the Democrats' agenda, that's what that really means. Yeah, if you're trying to steal an election, question mark. That's a little screenshot. I was looking to see if the actual video is embedded. It might be, although I don't see it. Yeah, here it is. Caught on tape. This is on Steven Crowder's Twitter. Caught on tape. Democrat operative details potentially illegal ballot harvesting schemes used to rig American politics, appears to admit 2020 election fraud took place in Georgia. Yep, so there's a whole thing right here, if you want to watch it. So this is interesting that this is coming out, but we already know they're stealing it, but it's funny when the thieves like to talk about their crimes. They like to monologue. Well, in this case, he didn't know he's being videoed, but still. Yeah, and this guy who is apparently impartial is wearing a shirt that says United States of Black. Yeah. But, yep, he's impartial. It's fine. So anyway, that is on the Nemus News Network. Thought that was kind of interesting that site even, I didn't even know that site existed, but yeah, it does. Assuming it's Dustin Nemos, probably. Anyway, and let's see, this one I came across, thought it was kind of interesting because it's something that I've been talking about, sort of, to some degree at least. Not really the first thing, Category 6 hurricanes, not really talking about that, although that was mentioned in the context of Hurricane Milton. But get a load of the rest of this, kind of interesting. And biblical flooding will be the norm. Volcanoes and asteroids are next, as Planet X, also known as the Nibiru Nemesis system, draws near its perihelion with Earth, something I've mentioned for months now. Experts warn that severe weather events and climate upheavals will escalate drastically. Governments may not come to your aid. Prepare for survival on your own as the chaos unfolds. So again, this is on Squawk, SQAUK.com. In recent years, the planet has endured a rapid succession of severe weather events and natural disasters, prompting serious questions about the future. So anyway, this is talking about, not really word for word, not really verbatim, but very, very much a lot of the same things that I have said as referencing this website, Yowza.com, which again, Marshall Masters' site. I think he's done some really good work here on the whole Nemesis system, Planet X, and how it is going to be reaching perihelion very soon, may already be. So it's just a matter of time. And it's already appearing in different places, different points in the world, and can be seen at, sunsets and sunrises and things like that, depending on where you are on the planet. So kind of interesting. So I didn't really have any new articles, I don't think, to mention on this site. Let's see. I did mention this one before. A catastrophic submarine volcano event is building in the Philippine Sea. So that's still one that's kind of percolating out there. But yeah, pretty wild how some of these things are kind of crisscrossing a little bit. So that's Squawk article is talking about a lot of the same exact stuff that Marshall Masters has been talking about on his site. Pretty interesting. Planet X and its effects on the Earth. I thought it was all because we had air conditioners and drove cars. But nope, turns out there's a little more to it than that. And then natural news articles. The most recent headlines on there: Palestinian man who escaped Israeli prison launches Abandon Harris movement. Interesting. If Kamala wins, prepare for climate change, authoritarianism, and the destruction of America's economy. Yeah, that's already happening. Illegal ballot harvesting scheme to rig election results revealed by Democrat operative. That's the one that I just mentioned a little bit ago. The Steven Crowder piece on that other site. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has opened a criminal investigation into Dominion voting systems for potential election-related crimes. Yeah, well, he's going to find himself in prison if he investigates Dominion, because that's what happens. Kamala is struggling to win the support of male voters in major labor unions. Yeah, well, we already know how she can appeal to the male voters. That's all they care about. What was it? Weed and porn and whatever else there was. So yeah, that she knows how men think, apparently. It's all she's ever been exposed to, so yes, of course she does. Anyway, and then Wine Press, we have winepressnews.com, a few articles on there. Bill Gates says a new religion or a new philosophy will be needed to accommodate AI in everyday life. AI in everyday life. So he's calling for a new religion or a new philosophy because I guess he thinks that AI will become our God. That's kind of what it sounds like. He believes that some sort of a new religion or new philosophy will be needed as people become more acclimated to AI in their everyday lives. Referring to this as a potential positive, NVIDIA executive says AI will acquire a human form and will be integrated into everything. The machine is to the body what AI is to the brain. In the near future, everything that moves or that monitors things that move will be autonomous robotic systems. These systems will be capable of sensing and responding to their environments, the company says. Yeah. So, well, we know where they want to take it, don't we? I'm not sure how far they will get into this whole thing, but yeah, that's definitely where they want to go with it. Not good. And then this is one I mentioned earlier. Russian court rules that Google must pay 20 decillion, 32 zeros, after YouTube bans Russian media outlets. 20 decillion. It says dollars. I think they mean rubles. Yeah, Russian court has ruled that Google owes Russian media stations around 20 decillion in fines for blocking their content. And the fines could get bigger. Yeah, I wonder how much interest would be charged. The court imposed a fine of 100,000 rubles per day, with the total fine doubling every week. So yeah, they mean serious business, sounds like. 20 decillion dollars or rubles. And you can subscribe to this podcast, to this show for 20 decillion dollars too if you want. That's where I start. That's the starting line. So you'd have to pay 20 decillion dollars per month to subscribe to the Diamond Report. Now available on Subscribestar. No, I'm just joking. Of course not. Starts at $5. All right, and then let's see here. Gateway Pundit articles. People with Harris signs in a panic after receiving letters and postcards thanking them for volunteering to house migrant families. They're volunteering to house migrant families. That is funny. Kamala Harris supporters across the country have been left rattled, probably rightfully so, after receiving letters and postcards suggesting that they will be volunteering to house migrant families. While Democrats have championed open borders and humanitarian migrant policies, it seems when the issue is brought to their own doorsteps, literally, the enthusiasm fades. One Harris supporter in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, was shocked after receiving what appeared to be a postcard from the Harris campaign. When she flipped it over, the message informed her that a family of migrants from Nicaragua will be moving into her home, even specifying the date and listing food and transportation needs. That is hilarious. It says, "Thank you for supporting Kamala. We're so appreciative of you putting out a yard sign, but now we need your continued help. We will be moving a family of 2 from the country of Nicaragua into your home on 10/30/24. They will need food, toiletries, and transportation. Thank you." So there you go. Give it right back to them. That's hilarious. Anyway. Yep, just thought you'd like to know about that little fun factoid. Too big to rig versus the deep state's election industrial complex. Yeah, will it be too big to rig? Who will win? Well, we're about to find out in about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, maybe. We'll know more in a couple days, but we won't know a whole lot more, I don't think. So anyway, that one's on Gateway Pundit. And then RFK Jr. says Trump administration will advise U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from tap water on day 1. Which probably actually means day 100, but it's okay. I mean, as long as they do it, that would be nice. RFK Jr. has announced that Trump administration will advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from the tap water on day 1. Of course, it's a company-by-company policy, so they could advise it, but they can't really mandate it, obviously. But that would be good. That'd be a good thing to get going. Remove the hydrofluorosilicic acid. It is not exactly a health product. Photo of political prisoner Tina Peters in orange jumpsuit released. This is what the Biden-Harris regime is doing to a Gold Star mother. So in the first video tonight, we saw that lady in Colorado who has literally released the passwords and literally compromised the elections in Colorado. And yet Tina Peters, seen here in this picture, did none of that. And in fact did the opposite and protected the voters in Colorado. She's in jail. Meaning her. Says yet another blatant display of political persecution. Former Mesa County, Colorado clerk Tina Peters, 68, a Gold Star mother, was sentenced to 9 years in prison in early October. She was found guilty on 7 of 10 charges for preserving critical election data. She did not delete the data like she was told. She didn't cover their fraud. So she goes to jail. Enough said. So, not good, but that's what they do. They put the people in prison that they are trying to make an example of. I thought this one was kind of ridiculous and funny. Both transgender biological man sues Hooters for refusing to hire him after he was banned from the restaurant. First of all, what was he doing in there? If he likes men anyway. Says a transgender biological man who identified as a woman has filed a lawsuit against Hooters for refusing to hire him. Never mind, he's uglier than I don't know what. After he was already banned from the restaurant for sexually harassing the waitresses. Figure that one out. So he wants to work in the place that he's been banned from because he was literally harassing some of the women there. And he looks like total garbage. Oh, I know. He's probably a Trump voter. That's his problem. All right. And then let's see here. At least 10 Democrat New York State authorities raid the home of caretaker who raised the orphan squirrel since birth. Beloved social media star Peanut seized and tragically euthanized. Quote, officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. Yeah, it's worse. You were housing a known felon. Meaning Peanut the squirrel. Now, that's really sad. Look at him with his little hat on. Anyway, we've seen all kinds of craziness in this broadcast. But, yep. Doesn't get much more crazier than confiscating your pet squirrel and killing it. Not good. I wanted to mention this one. This is a friend of mine sent me this. And I really like Jamie Walden. I think he's doing such a good job. And let's listen to just a few minutes of this. This is from a recent post of his about 3 days ago called Bad Moon Rising. So what?
So, do not be frightened in any way by those who oppose you. Do not be what? Frightened. Don't be fearful. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. Don't let anybody see any fear in you. In fact, don't even let it dwell in your heart. You repent of your fear before a holy God because it's such an offense to him that you would be fearful because your fear testifies that you don't believe his love for you because perfect love casts out all fear. And where you fear, you've not been perfected by his love. Is everybody hearing all the scriptures?
That's right.
We can literally speak over our own hearts through the scriptures all the time. He's not given me the spirit of fear, but a power of love and sophroneo, a sound mind. He's given me a good, secure, emotionally secure mind because that's his spirit that dwells in me. So anything outside of that, you need to repent. You need to repent of your fear. You need to repent of your self-loathing. You need to repent of your insecurity and your victimhood. You need to repent of your pride and your self-reliance. You need to repent. Because you're giving no space for the power of a holy God to work through your life. You're filling it all with self. How could he ever work through that? So he says, that's why, don't be frightened in any way by those who oppose you. It will be a sign to them that they're going to be destroyed, but that you will be saved, and that by God. That's why you can have no fear. Hebrews 12:12 says, therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and your weak knees, and make level paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. Strengthen your feeble arms and your weak knees. Elijah quieted his servant's fear-filled heart when the armies were surrounding them by praying in 2 Kings 6 and speaking kind words over his servant. Don't you know? Don't be afraid. Listen, don't be afraid. Lord, open his eyes so he can see what I know. Don't you know your God? That's what he's saying. Don't you know your God? Don't you know, servant, your God? You've been walking with me. You've been walking with the Lord. You've seen this testimony borne out. Why now? Because there's this huge army massing around you. Do you think somehow all the promises of God are null and void because of what your eyes see? That does not nullify your God. Don't you know? And he goes, don't be afraid. Oh God, open his eyes so he can see what I can see. Don't you know that greater are those that are with us than those that are with them? Right. Our numbers are far superior. And then the Lord answers Elijah's faith. And the servant's eyes are open. And behold, chariots of fire and horses of fire all round about him. And his heart was stilled. Yeah. Don't you know your God? King David quieted his own failing flesh by declaring the good news over himself. He's like, I'm not waiting for somebody else to tell me the good news. I'm going to start preaching it over myself. Psalm 27, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and my foes, it is they who will stumble. Amen. This is a warrior king speaking here. He knew his God. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise against me, I will be confident. And then he goes on to say, for he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will lift me high upon his rock. And now my head shall be lifted above my enemies all around me. Where is his enemies at? All around him. All around him. And I will offer in his tent sacrifices of shouts of joy. Amen. And I will sing and make melody to the Lord. See, he even preached strength over himself because he knew how destructive fear was to the testimony of God. Don't you know? Don't you know that we are only ever to have one posture in this late hour, one posture alone? A posture of power and strength and encouragement and hopeful, eager anticipation. A posture of fearlessness, of boldness, of steadfastness, and of teeth-gritting, love-compulsed warrior spirit towards the Most High. Only one posture. No other posture can coexist. Have you forgotten 1 Thessalonians 5, 1 through 11? That says, don't you know? Listen, you're not of the darkness anymore. You're children of the light. Don't you know that? So don't be afraid. Don't be alarmed by these things. It's talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ, but don't worry about it. Yeah, you've heard about the second. You've heard about the day of the Lord, but don't you know you're not in dark so that day should overtake you? You're children of the light. What's the big deal? Get off of it already. What's the deal with you guys? And then he goes on to say, therefore, because this is true, because you're not in the dark, because you know exactly what's coming, you know what's happening, you know the hope, you know the power of Christ in you, the mystery of the cosmos has now been made known to you, Christ in you, the hope of glory, you have it all. And he goes on to say, therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you're doing. You ought to be speaking the good news, not bringing the evil report. Yeah. We have so easily forgotten the word of Jesus Christ to his faithful servants in Luke 21, 9 through 18. He says, when you hear of wars and uprisings, do not be frightened. These things must happen, but the end will not come right away. It's like, dude, how are we working around this? How does somehow we get around all the word of the Lord all the time? Because of our carnality, because of our love of self, because we're proud, boastful, arrogant, treacherous, rash, full of conceit, because we're always learning and never able to come to an understanding of truth, because the way of truth is coming to disrepute, because we won't tolerate sound doctrine. Why do we not know these basics? When you hear of these things, at the end of the age, when the great tribulation, everything's coming to culmination, the next words, do not be frightened. And then he goes on in verse 18 to say, this is all the things that's going to take place. Wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, famines, pestilence. Got it. We got the bad news, right? We got the bad news. Okay, now we're going to get over it. He goes, but not a hair on your head will perish. Stand firm and you will win your life. Amen. Pretty simple. Have you forgot the testimony of Christ in you, the hope of glory in Psalm 112? That says, this is what the inheritance of those who fear the Lord look like. This is the singularity of their posture. This is the singularity of their inheritance. This is a testimony that their heart is actually regenerate in Jesus Christ. You know what it is? He tells you. They have no fear of bad news. That's right. You want me to say that again? Yeah. This is how you can tell a regenerate heart. They have no fear of bad news. Their hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord. Why are their hearts steadfast? Because they trust in the Lord. Their hearts are secure. They have no fear. In the end, they will look on triumph on their foes.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very good information. Very good advice. And no matter what's coming this week, don't be in fear because it's not of God. I think Jamie sums it up incredibly well there. And, the video, you can find it on YouTube, obviously, if you want to watch the whole thing. It's really, really good. I thought he did a great job in this sermon. And if you don't have a way of looking for it or can't find it or whatever, make sure you're on the Substack list. I will link to that in that post that I send out on Tuesday. So, yes, do not be afraid of this election or anything else that's coming. So, yeah. People saying amen and yes in chat. So, yeah, I thought that was really good. Really, really good information. Let's see. NotToBe.com, just a few of the articles that I had pulled up. We have the peanut articles, obviously. That's a huge story. It says, I've assembled a list of Peanut the Squirrel memes to inspire patriotic Americans ahead of Election Day. We know Peanut would not be afraid. Says, in honor of Peanut, the bravest little American who died at the hands of tyrants, I've compiled memes to serve as a rallying cry for red-blooded patriots. Possible modifications. Yeah, showing the gun with the squirrel blaster, I guess. I know who's on the Diddy list. Peanut the Squirrel tweeted. Let's see if we can find some others here. This is from Lord of the Rings. Tell me, where is Peanut? For I would much like to speak with him. He has fallen into shadow. Yeah. It's okay. They wrongfully persecuted me too. It's funny. Do you remember the Shire? It'll be spring soon. Peanut the Squirrel will be eating grubs from the fresh soil. Do you remember Peanut the Squirrel, Mr. Frodo? There's a squirrel gasping at the all-red U.S. I don't think that's going to happen, Peanut. I'm sorry. White House operation. The White House monitoring the operation to arrest Peanut. Yep, that makes sense. I said we making Peanut the Squirrel memes today. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're killing the squirrels. Yeah, they are. I can't believe he didn't cry during Titanic. Do men even have feelings? And then they show Peanut, and this guy is sobbing. You're sheltering a cute rescue squirrel without the proper permit, are you not? Illegal migrants and pet squirrels. You can see the government is blind to the illegal migrants, but with the pet squirrels, yep, they have the telephoto lens, and Zoom in very closely. There's no reason you need to own a gun. You literally just murdered my pet squirrel. Yeah. The electoral map, if only squirrels voted. And squirrel herd around the world. Like his cowboy hat. This is Peanut the Squirrel tweeting that I have information that could lead to the arrest and imprisonment of Hillary Clinton. And then Darth Vader fires up his lightsaber. I like this one. Showing a kid stretching out his leg here, killing a squirrel. Democrats are the kid killing a squirrel way up the ladder here, way up the steps. Arresting murderers, arresting rapists, and arresting illegals. That's all being skipped. Yeah. This New York meme here with the lady with their knife behind her back. That's very appropriate. Then they killed Peanut the Squirrel. It all changed after that. That might be where we're at now. For Peanut. So, anyway, there's some good ones on here. Kill a squirrel that way to New York. Come and take it. Oh yeah, I got the guy singing the song here. They'll break into your house to kill your pets while taking on more and more debts. Squirrel lives matter. Well, they used to. Not so sure they do now. Report trans activist organization sent thousands of texts falsely telling Pennsylvanians they had already voted. So again, it's okay if they do it. Jimmy Kimmel can do it. This person can do it. This person with really wonderful teeth. Wow, Charlotte Clymer's PAC All Vote ran a voter suppression scam targeting voters in the swing states of Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Arizona. The victims were sent fake text messages saying that they've already voted. But no, that person wouldn't do that. Look at it. It looks hideous. I don't even want to say a he or a her. It looks hideous. That feeling when you haven't voted and you get that text that says you voted. I did not. So, yep, again, they can break all the rules. The rules only get applied to the people that they are against, and that would be mostly conservatives. Conservatives and Christians and blah, blah, blah. All right, InfoWars, couple of interesting little comics here, a couple of pieces of art, I guess you could call it. You have the 1800s Republicans, the friendly rhinos, the racists, the bitter clingers / deplorables, and the Nazis, and now just garbage. The evolution of the Republican Party, as seen by Democrats. And don't tread on me. So again, the peanut memes are going full force. America's global fleecing is imminent. We'll close the show with this video. I thought it was pretty good. Proof that the World Economic Forum climate change hysteria is a giant scam, which it is. But also you have the whole issue that we brought up earlier with the Planet X system coming into our system, affecting the weather on the planet. You have the sun, which also affects the weather on our planet. And you have the massive problem of global geoengineering programs that affect what happens with the weather on our planet. So, you know, climate change is hysteria for sure, but it's climate change because it's climate changed from geoengineering and all these other things that they're doing on purpose. So we'll save that video for the end. We'll wrap the show up here in just a few minutes and we'll close with that. Bill Clinton says it would be a travesty if Trump became president again. No, it was a travesty that you were ever president once, let alone twice. He claims that America would not survive a second Trump term. I think he's confused. Election interference, FCC commissioner. NBC broke equal time rule with Kamala Harris appearing on Saturday Night Live. But it's okay when they do it. We already know this. NBC violated the FCC, Federal Communications Commission's equal time rule by inviting Democrat selectee Kamala Harris on Saturday Night Live on the last weekend before the election without extending the same invite to former President Trump, according to the FCC commissioner. Imagine if Saturday Night Live or anybody else did that on the other side. If they only invited Trump and didn't invite her, imagine the outcry. Imagine the outcry, the gnashing of teeth. But they can do it all they want. Modernity.news, Trump campaign secretary decimates CNN over Trump's violent rhetoric hoax. CNN and other blatantly biased legacy media propaganda outlets have continued to push ridiculous hoax that Trump advocated executing Liz Cheney in a firing squad, which of course he did not. But when they have taken his context and taken his quote out of context, that's the way they're making it look. CNN has still not retracted or corrected its claim that Trump said Liz Cheney should be fired upon, even though it is obviously false. And now the politically progressive fact checker Snopes has debunked CNN's disinformation. It's pretty bad when Snopes is debunking CNN. Anyway, that one's on modernity.news. And so is this one. A shocking 80% of Americans believe free speech can be violence. 4 in 5 concur. It says a poll has found that a disturbing number of Americans believe speech can be equated with physical violence. Speech. October poll by the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, discovered that 80% of respondents somewhat agreed with the statement, words can be violence. 22% said that they completely agree with the statement. 22%. So anyway, there's the graph. Poll further registered that only 12% of Gen Z respondents disagreed that speech could be violence. So scary. But not really. Yes, free speech is something that everyone should have, but most of us do not have anymore. VaccineImpact.com, Who Controls the World by Dr. True Ott. Who controls the world? So that's an article on there. Musk predicts stock market crash even if Trump wins. I think they will. If that's the case, they will certainly crash the economy. They're probably holding out for that very result. So we'll see how that all unfolds. New Ark of the Covenant constructed, which we mentioned this last week, constructed as a weapon and communication device, was taken to Trump before bringing it to Jerusalem. So, I don't know. We mentioned that last week, though, the Ark of the Covenant. North Carolina Child Protection Services threatening to seize children from parents in Red Cross shelters that are shutting down. Because, of course, why wouldn't they? Makes total sense. Take the kids from people who've lost everything. GeoWatch for this week, election weather. So yeah, if you're going to go vote on Tuesday, something to keep in mind. Might want an umbrella and or a protective device from any hurricanes that come your way or anything like that. It says, will flooding and storms play roles in swing states on Election Day 24? U.S. elections, says weather could play spoil sport in these 3 swing states on voting day. A nightmare. Parts of Valencia is still unreachable after catastrophic flooding. We mentioned that earlier. That was talking about Spain. No one came to rescue us in this destroyed Spanish town. People are angry. Catastrophic flooding in Spain leaves widespread destruction. Is there much more to weather than we're being told? So that is election weather on GeoWatch. Geoengineeringwatch.org for this week. If you've missed it, go and check that one out. Make sure you're on the email list so that you can get the updates. We sent out an additional 90-second news alert earlier today. So be sure you're on that list. You can sign up by clicking right here where it says email sign up list. And that will take you to a page where you can drop your email address in and join the list. All right, and then the scheduled weather for the week. We have, looks like more warmth between November 9th and 13th. It's saying above normal, right where I am, and then most of the southeast, really, and even the northeast, some of the northeast. And then this is the precipitation for those same dates, November 9th through the 13th. Looks like more precipitation than normal, above normal. So we got the green and dark green. So that's the scheduled weather for the week. And then, let's see. I think that was the end of the articles. So we have this page, which I realized someone told me that the link that was in the at least the most recent Substack post wasn't working. So I'm going to have to replace this link with the correct one that works for anybody that wants to look at this. But this is my End Times events list, not based on dates, but based on events. So something to take a look at if you haven't ever seen it before. It's something I put together about a year and a half ago that it's the way I feel like things will probably unfold, starting with World War III and then where things go from there. So these are the various and sundry pieces that that I came up with here as far as some of the different events that I felt like would have to happen for certain things to fall in a certain order. So that's what that is. We can go through that at a different time if you guys are interested, but we have on several occasions already. Make sure you're on the Substack list, diamonddisc.substack.com. And also on this Substack page, if you drop your email address in here and you click subscribe, you have an option to contribute to what I'm doing if you so choose, and I certainly would appreciate that. Very helpful. Thank you to all who are doing that now. And I've got a few subscribers. I want to say, maybe 13 or so, 12 or 13 subscribers who are actually paying a little bit. So thank you all. You know who you are, and I won't single out anybody's names, but thank you guys. Thank you guys for helping me pay for the show. It's requiring more and more of my time every week to do this show, and I'm trying to put together as good a show as possible that I could produce at least. And, in a live situation where I'm kind of a one-man show here doing everything myself, but it obviously requires quite a bit of time and effort on my part. So thank you guys very much for recognizing that. And, the Substack mechanism here is one way that you can contribute simply by signing up. If you don't want to sign up, though, you can just click on No Thanks, and you'll still go to where the postings are here. And the most recent one is front and center. And if you just scroll down a little ways, you'll have a long list here of all the different places that I have different social media links to. And then front and center here, the top one is now Subscribestar. And the Subscribestar page is active. Subscribestar, as I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, it is now working, and I challenge you to be the first one to sign up. No one has signed up yet. It just went live like the last... I think it was the last day or so. It was certainly this weekend. I think it was yesterday, actually, when it went live. So there's different increments and, different ways you can help support the show. And again, I really, really would appreciate it. If you don't want to contribute that way as far as a monthly type of thing, that's totally fine. Again, no pressure. It's just something that would really, really be helpful to me. If you don't want to do that, though, I understand. And there is the store offering various products. So you can take a look at that if you want. Again, shop.thediamond.report, which is in the black box in the corner up there as well. So we've got different things, different mugs and hats and shirts and all kinds of different ways to help support what I'm doing. So thank you guys. And then the Diamond Report on X. Let's see here. Let me see what I can find on here to mention. Steve Garvey. We talked about the LA Dodgers earlier. He was a former Dodger. He's running against Adam Schiff in California. And this video clip here is pretty funny. I'll leave it to you guys to go watch it if you want. Steve Bannon is out of jail. He's, I think he walked out of jail and grabbed a microphone, which, rightfully so. He's got a lot to say. Thought this meme was funny. Taylor Swift here makes millions singing about bad choices in men, but fully endorses Joe Biden. Yeah. And now Kamala Harris, of course. And then this is the ABC accidentally, quote unquote, airing the election results of Harris winning Pennsylvania 52 to 47%. Yeah. So yeah, there's some interesting things that I find to tweet and retweet. So feel free to follow along there if you happen to be on Twitter X. I recommend it. I like it. I didn't like Twitter 1.0 really at all, and hardly used it. Used it for my music business stuff that I do, but I didn't really use it for anything political. Now I think the political stuff is actually way, way better on there. So whatever Musk has done, whether you like him or not, he's done some really good things, I feel like, with Twitter, and really has freed it up a lot. So you can talk about how terrible certain things are, certain medical processes are, and not have any issue at all on there. Whereas you still do on other certain platforms like YouTube. So anyway, definitely follow along on there. This is the Diamond Report on Twitter X. You could do a search for that, or just the Diamond RPRT. I had to abbreviate report when I created the account, so that's what that is. And then take it to Lord of Prayer End Times Dates on YouTube. I did create a little 5-minute segment from last week's show. Trump won't be allowed to win is the name of the show from last week. That's not saying that he won't actually have the numbers to win. I'm not saying that at all. I think he will win the election, but they won't allow him to take the presidency is what I'm saying. So let me have that little sidebar there. But yeah, I took a 5-minute clip where I talked about Kamala Devi Harris. We went through that last week. So if you missed that, definitely check out that 5-minute video where we talk about Devi, D-E-V-I, which is very, very close to devil. And then I went into Revelation 17 talking about the woman on the beast. So based on that, I really do feel like they will hand the election to Kamala. I really don't feel like there's any way around that, unfortunately, except with God. With God. Maybe we will get spared whatever's coming to us, but I have my doubts. However, it's up to God. Not up to me, it's not up to you, it's up to God. So we will see what happens. Again, no fear though. No fear about what happens on Tuesday, or even by the next Tuesday, or the next Tuesday after that when they're still counting votes. Because they're going to be counting votes until she wins. That's pretty much the way it works, as you all know. All right, and then rumble.com, Diamond Disc on there, Diamond Disc on Rumble. So rumble.com/user/Diamond Disc is my account on Rumble. And then BitChute, I'm also Diamond Disc on there. It's just the Diamond Report. You can do a search for that. So please follow along on these different platforms. It really helps me out. And make sure you're still subscribed on YouTube. I've had people tell me they've been unsubscribed, so they have to go resubscribe. And numbers are staying about the same, so I'm not really too worried about it, but I just wanted to mention all that. And then Band as well. If you're not in Band, feel free to join Band. It's totally free. So anyway, let's see here what you guys are saying in chat. You're making me feel like setting my alarm for 5 a.m. is pointless. What's the point of voting if evil will prevail no matter what? I'm not saying that. I feel like that's where we are in this particular timeline, that evil probably will prevail. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do the right thing. That doesn't mean that at all. I feel like voting is all we can really do. And if you don't vote, if you purposely say, I'm not going to vote because it's rigged, I'm not going to vote because it won't make any difference, then you're contributing to the problem in a lot of ways, because you also don't have any voice anymore. If you're purposely not voting, you're giving up your voice, so you don't have a voice to complain about the things that come your way. If you didn't at least try to make a difference. This is the only mechanism that's peaceful that we have at our disposal. This is the last one. And if they've taken this from us, we have nothing else except God. God is all we have. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't do the right thing. I'm saying most likely what will happen is that she will be installed, just like Biden was in 2020. If that doesn't happen, I will be happy to be wrong. But most importantly, do not fear. Do not fear. God is in control, as we heard Jamie mention earlier. And definitely watch that whole video if you haven't seen it. It's a really, really good one. So anyway, blessings to you guys, and we'll call it a night tonight. We're going to do another broadcast. So you guys that missed it earlier, I went through the whole political thing and election day early on in the show. And one thing I mentioned was we're going to do an election night broadcast. We're going to be the 5th at 5. The 5th at 5. So November the 5th is Tuesday. We're going to start the broadcast at 5. That's 5 my time. I happen to be in the Central Time Zone. Which, of course, we've shifted times now and everything's different and blah, blah, blah. Good old daylight savings is gone for a little while. So we're going to broadcast on election night, which is November the 5th. We're going to start at 5 p.m. Central Time. 5 p.m. Central Time. So, yes, I would love it if you guys wanted to join me. We're going to do some commentating. We're going to do some talking. We're also going to be doing a simulcast at the same time. I won't really go into what we're going to show, but it should be really, really educational and really, really accurate on what's actually going on, and a really incredible discussion. I do know all that. I can tell you all of that. So yeah, if you guys want to tune in, or maybe you can jump in and out of the broadcast. We're going to probably run it for quite a while. I won't necessarily be on screen talking the entire time, but I will be running the live stream, hosting it. I'll be on and doing some commentating, and then answering questions and or reading some of what you guys are posting in chat. The chat will be on and going just like it is in this show. So it's going to be a live stream based on what's going on in the election with some really interesting personalities. We'll just say that. Not hosting it here. It's just a simulcast. We're going to be live streaming it from a couple of other places. So we will see what all happens. Feel free to join me on Tuesday night if you have time. You know, we may still be up and running 4 hours later. I have no idea how long we're going to go. So we'll start at 5 and we'll just see what happens. So we'll leave it with that. We'll leave it with you guys. And yes, go vote. So, you know, don't leave it up to evil. Don't leave it up to evil. We need to voice our opinion. This is probably the last election that we'll ever have, any of us. So based on how I personally believe, things are going to unfold. So thank you guys. Blessings to you all. Do not be worried. And, you know, there's never a bad time or a wrong time to do the right thing. And that's kind of where we're at here. So anyway, blessings to you guys. We'll see you all Tuesday night. Stay tuned for this last video. I think it's a really good one as well. And I mentioned it earlier. It's it's called America's Global Fleecing is Imminent. So this is something that's also really important as far as what we're seeing unfold now. So blessings to you guys. We'll see you Tuesday night starting at 5 o'clock Central Time. And again, if you can't make it at 5 Central, whatever time that is for you, just tune in whenever you can, and we'll probably still be live streaming. So, and we're going to be on Rumble again like normal, and we're going to be on YouTube again like normal, but we're also going to be back on Facebook for this live stream. So if you happen to be a Facebooker, you can join Tuesday night on Facebook as well. So blessings, you guys. Love you all. See you again on Tuesday.